In this video, we're going to be talking about Booleans. Now, just like numbers and strings, Booleans are another fundamental data type in JavaScript. So let's get right to it. So first of all, what are Booleans? Like, we've learned numbers and we've learned about strings. Booleans are the other fundamental data type in JavaScript. Now, unlike numbers or strings, Booleans can only have one of two values, true or false. So if you type in true just like that as is without any strings or anything, then you've created a Boolean. Now, just by typing in true and semicolon, this is actually a Boolean. Similarly, you have false, which you can create by typing in false and then semicolon, and that's as a false Boolean. Now, you might be wondering, well, we have numbers, okay, we have numbers and then we have strings, but why do we need Booleans? Like, why do we even need true or false? As you'll see in later lessons, Booleans actually have a very important use in JavaScript because you'll often need true or false confirmations in conditionals and in loops. Now, in JavaScript, the values 0, -0, null, undefined, nan, and empty string are false, and every other type of values are true. Now, when you're creating a Boolean, remember to type in the keyword true or false as is. We don't need any quotation marks around them because if we write quotation marks, they'll actually become a string and they'll not be Booleans. So in this case, in order to create a Boolean, you just type in true or false. Now, just like with strings and numbers, sometimes you might see Booleans created using the new Boolean syntax. And just like strings and numbers, this is not a very good practice, and you shouldn't use it most of the time, because the new Boolean method actually creates a Boolean object. So by typing in new Boolean and then inside parentheses true or false does create a Boolean, but it creates a Boolean object and not a Boolean primitive. And it has its own side effects. So it's better not to use the new Boolean syntax and just use the traditional literal syntax where you just write in true or false. Now, if you have a value, you can actually evaluate it whether it's true or false. In other words, you can convert a value into a Boolean. You can do that using the Boolean method. Now, previously we said that 0, -0, null, undefined, nan, and empty strings are false values. You can verify that by using the Boolean method. So in this case, you just type in Boolean. Remember, don't type in new because new will actually create a Boolean object. So it's not new Boolean, it's just Boolean, and then inside the parentheses, you type in the value you want to convert to a Boolean. In this case, we have Boolean 0, which outputs false because 0 is regarded as false in JavaScript. -0 or -0 is also false. Similarly, Boolean null is also false, and Boolean undefined is false. Boolean nan is false as well. And finally, an empty string, which is just a pair of quotes without any content, is actually false in a Boolean context. And all other values except the ones that we just mentioned are true. So in this case, Boolean, a string, any string, in fact, ABC, XYZ, 1, 2, 3, any string evaluates to true. Any number also evaluates to true. In this case, Boolean 675, or any number, in fact, evaluates to true. And of course, Boolean true will always evaluate to true as well. So except for the ones that we just mentioned, all other general values are true in a Boolean context. Now, you'll learn much more about Booleans and how they're used when we get to more advanced topics like conditionals and loops. But for now, just know that there's a data type in JavaScript called Booleans, and it can only take in the value either true or false.